So today I'm with Alan Reichard down here at AMD, and we're talking about his new book, and it's called The Tactical Abyss. So the first question for you is, Alan, why did you write it?
Well, let me tell you a little bit of the story of how the book came about, or the premise of the book. Actually, I started at AMD back in 2005. About 6 months into my role here, I was looking at some agencies for work to do for AMD and the role that I play as the Director of Worldwide Events here. One of the agencies that I came in and looked at was called CMS. And the president and owner of CMS is Diana, okay? And one of her top people that work for her his name is Patrick Grady. So Diana Zimmerman, the owner, and Patrick Grady were the two that came down here. And of course, when you first sit down with an agency, you're really saying, okay, well, tell me what your capabilities are and your skills are and so forth. And then, I'll start to assess. I'm a little bit different. I take a much different approach. I really told Diana and Patrick, like I do with every agency that I bring in here, it says, let me take some time first telling you my vision of what we're trying to accomplish, what this company's trying to accomplish. Because if you understand that, then you'll start to understand how you can best help me accomplish that vision. So the half-hour time frame that I allowed to talk with Diane and Patrick turned into a few hours. Okay, and in that few hours time frame, by the time Diane and Patrick left, they actually said that this is very interesting. No one's ever done this with us before. It's always been about capabilities instead of, well, what is the vision we have to get to and so forth. So what I found out just as they were leaving, Diana, okay, is a published author. She has a book out right now called Candide that's doing very, very well. And within that, she came back and said, you've got a book inside you. She said, have you ever thought about writing a book? Fortunately, I told her that it was interesting because I've had multiple people tell me this, but I've never really wanted to writing a book. And Diane asked me why that took place. And I said, because I'm not a writer, okay? I'm a storyteller. And I can talk the story. But if you're going to ask me to sit down and write that out, it's probably not going to come out well. And Diana said, well, I know how to write, okay? And Patrick's role in this, Patrick was in corporate America, and then now he works for Diana in the agency. So he has a little bit of mix of both sides. Diana is very strong on the agency, and I have a very strong corporate side, event side. So between the three of us, we said, well, let's collaborate on a book. And here's how we'll do that. That's how that all came about.
Great.
So that's how we started down this path. At that point in time, we didn't have a title. Okay, we had a thought process of what we were looking at, and the process was, as we started to talk to Diane and Patrick at that time, was about vision. And vision, this is in this little bit of story we talked about, in that inside corporate America was changing. The role of an event manager that used to be very tactical and logistical, okay, its demise was coming about. And the reason its demise was coming about is because events 10, 15 years ago used to really be about product showcases. They were about product showcases because the event time frames were preset by show management. Corporations had announced cycles, product launch cycles, that they always mapped to the shows, and so they became product showcases. Yeah. The problem with that was that the world started to change in that those event arenas needed to become experiential.
Right.
What was really driving that really was the internet. People could get every piece of information they needed to know about products or about a company on the internet, so they didn't need to come there to get that information anymore. So the answer was, is people are going to stop going to those types of shows if it's just a product showcase. You're going to have to change that environment for them, and that meant becoming experiential.
Right.
So then you got to get back and say, well, then what does experiential mean? And experiential says it's not about the product and creating awareness now. It's more about how the product is used, okay, by that end consumer. And the other thing that's changing is this, you got to understand about is you look at a company like AMD. AMD doesn't have a product that the end consumer touches. It's an embedded piece or product that goes into the final consumer thing. So if you look at an AMD in our strategy and when we go forward, it's not about creating this showcase, okay? It's not even totally about creating this experiential. It's about how do I support my partners who have that end consumer product. So now you're starting to talk about the job changing from being tactical and logistical to strategic.
Right.
Okay, once it starts to become strategic, you need to create a vision of where it needs to go. The other thing that changes dramatically during this time frame is it's extremely important in today's environment, especially for people who are sitting in the roles of owning responsibility for events or worldwide events, to understand that events are part of the marketing vehicles. It's not the vehicle. Face-to-face events, and people say this all the time, they've been saying it for years now. Are events going to go away? Are they going to become virtual? Okay, because you go back about 10 years ago, and everybody thought everything was going to go virtual, and face-to-face is going to go away. So I'm going to say the same thing I've been saying for the past 10 years. Face-to-face will not go away. The reason face-to-face exists is that's where you get to touch a hand. And when touching the hand, you gain trust. You can't get that over the internet or over the web. So face-to-face becomes very important to do that. So these types of events will continue to exist. How you utilize these types of events in the big marketing mix now becomes very important. So this role now starts to become strategic in its sense, and that's what's changing. The other thing that's changing is as this role becomes strategic, as the marketing organizations inside corporations start to flex and look across all these markets, now you start to get to the point where it says, I can't carry the burden of staffing internal to corporate walls to do tactical and logistical work. And the bottom line, it's a dollar equation. Because in corporate America, as it's existed forever, the day you come in the door, I'm going to pay X amount of dollars to do what you're doing. If you're still doing the same thing 10 years from now, I'm not paying you the same dollar I paid you when you came in the door. I'm paying you something substantially more. When you get to the point where the role is changing to be more strategic, and now I have tactical, logistical people in roles trying to do that, I got a mismatch in what the skill set needs to be, and I got a mismatch in what the pay scales. Once you get there, you have two options. Continue to live with that. Most corporations over the last 10 years were shifting away from that. Certainly the economic changes over the last couple of years have reinforced that you got to move past that quicker. So now you get to a point of what you call outsourcing. Do I outsource the tactical and logistical elements? And therefore inside my company I carry people who can manage that outsource. So I don't use the word outsource much. I use a word called insource. Tremendous difference in my mind. An outsource is when I go ask somebody to do something for me. An insource is when I engage somebody on the outside as a partner. They become a part of my strategic thinking team when they understand my vision, and therefore they're going to do things on my behalf as a partner that will get us to where we need to get to. Not for a single event, but for my marketing strategy. Once you do that and you find an agency that can do that for you, and they have the right skill set and staffing, it becomes a perfect marriage.